Hello and welcome to my first podcast episode. Today's guest is Denis, the founder and coach of Sthenics'e coaching company. Denis holds a master's degree in pharmacy studies and has been practicing calisthenics over 12 years. Also, Denis has been coaching athletes from beginner to elite levels for over 8 years, helping them reach the dream physiques and advanced performance they desire. In addition to his years of training and coaching, Denis holds 5 skill-based competition championship title. With his research commitments during his university and master years and his passion for calisthenics and strength sports, he has been training himself for years both on the gym and behind the desk. Thank you for accepting my invitation and welcome. Hey Denis, super happy to have you here.
Yes, let's go. Hello, everyone. So nice to be here. Nice to be on another podcast again. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Welcome.
Let's get started.
Okay, my first question is, when did you start calisthenics and or general resistance training at gym or park, etc.? And also, what is your why to train?
Okay, so I've been training for over 12 years now. So I started in 2012. I was in my second year of university studying pharmacy there. And honestly, I used to be very sporty as a kid, always. I did some martial arts. I did lots of
Wow, I
skiing,
didn't know
swimming,
this.
stuff like that. Yeah. I
Which
did.
martial arts? Karate do, taekwondo?
I did Greek Roman, so wrestling,
Oh, I know
actually.
this. I love this
Yeah.
sport, yeah.
Yeah, for a few years, I was actually very good at it. Probably the sport I was the most talented at. I started winning some national prizes, but the pressure and it's so violent as a sport.
Yes.
Like you're fighting for your dear life. And I was 12, 13, and just had some bad fights, and that kind of turned me off. Like it was, I heard some people, I don't know,
And
it was too much
your
pressure.
ears seems good compared to wrestler. You are the lucky one.
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
broke your ears.
But yeah, those are still safe. And then I did karate for a few years. Same thing. I started getting competitive. I started doing competitions, and just I didn't like the pressure in the fights. So then I had some knee problems. I couldn't do sport for a few years. I did some squash afterwards. Mostly I was actually playing video games at that time. And when I started being competitive there, and once I got to university, I started training because my neighbor back in the day, so he was living one right next to me, came down and was like, "Hey guys, an Abercrombie and Fitch is opening in Vienna. We need to get fit to be models there." And I'm like, "No, I really don't care about that." But honestly, I want to start training. I was a super skinny dude. Like I was weighing 48 kgs on 172, so
48
a skeleton.
kg.
Yeah, a
Are you
walking
competing like
skeleton.
something like 36 kg on the Greco-Roman wrestling in the back in the
Yeah,
days?
exactly. That was so I was always very light but quite strong for my weight. That's why
And
I
very
was pretty
speedy,
good in
probably.
wrestling.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
speedy.
I was destroying kids, sad. So yeah, that's the thing, and the reason why I actually started was this stupid bet and challenge with the friend. I was scared of weights, so I decided, hey, I'll do everything just body weight. I saw some YouTube videos. I saw the Bar Brothers, like they were
Yeah,
going super hard,
Bar Brothers.
and yeah,
The whole
building incredible
generation.
physiques. Yeah, exactly. The set and reps in the park, no matter the weather, no matter what. And just I started like doing hundreds of push-ups, hundreds of dips, hundreds of back to wall handstand push-ups. And I did that for a few years. And just, after starting, I think just not long after I met my current girlfriend, and that was a motivation extra to keep training to
Yeah.
look just better. So it all happened at the right time. And yeah, that's the reason why I started. And of course, in Italy, the calisthenics scene was growing quite a lot. And me being Italian, I was watching the Italian athletes doing these crazy things. And I started getting interested in skills and started training skills. And
When
but at
you
that time by myself,
when you watch
because
Bar Brothers, did you try to do diamond handstand push-ups in this
I
time?
did everything. Yeah, all of it. Diamond handstand push-ups.
I did also, but back to wall. diamond. And
Yeah, exactly. Back to
very,
all.
very, very little room.
Yeah,
Restricted
that's
room.
why my handstand is still a banana, because I was doing so many. I think they had a training routine where you were doing over 100 um over 100 handstand push-ups in one session, and you do that twice a week and your thoracic spine closes up like crazy.
Shoulder elevation a lot.
Terrible. But hey, I got strong. So it gave me a good base to later on start on skills.
Compared to other strength sport passionate people, you are starting direct with calisthenics, right? Not
Yeah.
gym pro, something like that.
Zero
Okay.
gym, never touched a weight, just did everything with body
Why
weight.
did you scare to weights? Because you are Greco-Roman wrestler back in the days. It is two, not
I
seems
don't know.
two parallel things. Yeah.
I don't know. Well, when you're so young, 11, 12, they don't let you work with weights anyway. At least there was the belief that you shouldn't do weights when you're young. And we're just doing body weight stuff. I could already do like 10 pull-ups at a time or so. And I was just doing, but there was very little. There was just some push-ups, some pull-ups, very little physical preparation actually, and just mostly technical fighting stuff. I don't know. I just, the skinny dude that didn't have any idea. I was intimidated by the gym, and I trained in my room, or we had a gym. So I was living in a student home. We had a gym there. I did start doing some bench press and some easy stuff and looking at some videos, but I wanted to learn to do something with my body. I didn't want to just look huge. For me, it was more about learning to be able to do these incredibly cool skills more than just looking good. The
And
looks,
being capable other areas. Yeah.
exactly. The looks came with time.
Okay, when you say calisthenics, is first thing to come to my mind is handstand. And the people say to me calisthenics, I'm imagining the person to handstand, but perfect one especially. And this is the skill almost everyone can achieve, we know, with smart adherence especially. With good programming, what is the timeline to achieve 10-second handstand without doing too many attempts, by the way? Yes, will be different to person. In general, we can say fitness age, sex, biological age, 80s, etc. But there are probably more factors behind a successful handstand than that. What determines this difference? Like muscle mass can be, body weight ratio, or a childhood activity can be. I'm really wondering your opinion.
Okay, I think the last point you made, it in your childhood makes the most difference. At least this is like purely based on experience. That people, even older people I work with, older being like 40, 50 plus, so not really old, but still, to learn a handstand, usually you think you do it in a young age. It's what they have done in the past. So if they were very active when they were kids, if they already tried stuff like that, it has a huge impact on how well they can balance, because you can do as many technical drills as you want in the handstand. You can really try and work and keep trying and working on it, trying and working on it. But I feel like that if you suck at balancing, it's just gonna take so much longer compared to if you have a good feeling for balance. The handstand is super straightforward, and you can learn standing on your hands in less than 6 months, maximum a year. But if you really struggle with the balance side of things, it's difficult, and there it can take you years to learn to hold a handstand. And even if you get proficient at holding them, if you have a bad day, they're gonna suck.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for
if
sure.
you start out young, if you have a good feeling for the body, and that's genetics as well. Some people just have have a hard time with a hand coordination than others, and those will struggle more.
Yeah, I can be the between this type of people because in my childhood I did a lot of naughty things, not good things, especially for movement type, but I didn't even try. I didn't remember myself to doing handstand. But when I start to handstand training, it is a really big gap to me to falling correctly because I don't know this.
Yeah.
And that's why it is scared to me, but I handled to some couple of weeks and start to getting some confidence. But some people, if they, like you said, over 40 years and didn't train, didn't childhood activity doing too much back in the days, can be very, very stressful on the handstand. And also, for example, on the training last week, some friends coming to the gym and just try one attempt handstand whole life and did 10 seconds on the parallels. I really
Yeah.
surprised. Did you
Yeah,
try
yeah.
these back in the days? Yeah, in the childhood I can do this, bro said to me. Yeah, I came to my mind in these questions and after this.
Yeah, it's very difficult to predict because balance is really unpredictable, and some people just it clicks easily, others it doesn't. And balance is, you can do a lot of drills to teach more control, but balance is not something you can really teach or periodize well. So, yeah.
And balance needs some mental clarity, in my opinion, mental focus compared to
Yeah,
other
mental
strength.
focus. Getting like the first step always is getting rid of the fear. A lot of people are so scared of falling that they don't even allow themselves getting in that position. That just takes time and patience, more for some, less for others. Some people just send it and they have no problem, and some people just are super, super careful and have a hard time with that, and they need to. It takes them a while to work on that.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for answering. And I'm gonna with you to other questions.
Let's
As we
go.
know, calisthenics a lot of style, weighted, freestyle, endurance, statics. I just want to start with my favorite one, weighted calisthenics. And in the past and still, weightlifting and powerlifting very popular 1RM strength sports. And
Mm-hmm.
right now, a lot of people start the weighted cali. For those who don't know weighted calisthenics, I would like to explain a little bit. Weighted
Mm-hmm.
calisthenics has four movements: muscle up, dip, squat, and pull up. And people compete like powerlifting, divide in weight class and try to max out all of these movements. And I am coming again question, Dennis. Can streetlifting athlete copy program from powerlifters? If they can, what is the critical point to modify? For example, dip can be more fatiguing than bench press. That's why maybe less frequency more applicable. Also, considering the deadlift for powerlifters is very taxing compared to the street lifting movements. That can be differentiated to programming wise. These are coming to my mind in first look. Can you explain this more detailedly, because of a lot of people in Turkey really passionate about powerlifting and some guys has really good genetics. This guy
Mm-hmm.
can transfer their strength to street lifting. Can they be really good at street lifting if they design their powerlifting programs with modifying copying? And what is the critical point for who try to do this?
Cool. Beautiful. Okay. There's quite a few things to say here. So, first of all, I would maybe work with a few examples that makes it easier. As a power lifter, I think tendentially in a lot of plans, you see people benching up to 3 times a week. That's one point you made already. Dipping 3 times a week is
Too much. For me especially.
it's too much for most people. And even if you dip twice a week, you should really make sure, if you're more advanced, to have one session that's heavier and one session that's actually very light. So one session where you don't push too much. Another thing regarding bench and dip, so we'll go through the 3/4 movements. Regarding bench and dip, is on the bench press, your shoulder blades are in a very fixed position on the bench, and you won't have to do as much stabilizing work compared to the dip. The dip, you need to really have a solid shoulder girdle. And the biggest problem powerlifters have when starting to dip is, even if they have extremely strong chest muscles, even though they have extremely strong tricep muscles, it's understanding how to stabilize their scapulas. And they might be able to move a lot of weight on the dip if they just try to dip. But if they haven't done it much before, they risk hurting themselves because they can load extreme weights in position and end up in positions where they might feel very uncomfortable. Things like starting, maybe even like bit more outside of the box, doing some work on the rings to just learn to stabilize, for example, can be a great
Shoulder
assistance
girdle.
exercise. Exactly, working just on the shoulder girdle, understanding how to stabilize, and really building up slowly, even if the weights feel silly to you and you're benching 180 plus, but you do dips with 20 kgs where you actually really look and focus on form elements rather than just moving weight, and still keep the bench press as your main exercise is a good way to introduce this movement. And once like bench, you can still keep benching even if you start going more in the dip direction. You need to find a technique that works for you, where especially as a power lifter, you learn to actually use your chest when getting out of the bottom of the dip, which if you like start dipping super closed is difficult. If you start dipping super open, you can't make the most out of the chest. So finding a technique where you can actually leverage your extreme bench press strength to be better in dips is super important, and one point I would for sure make sure. The second thing is, of course, in the street lifting competitions, you have the muscle up. And if you take the typical power lifter, you might be a bit more on the heavier side in the sense that you might have more fat on you compared to the typical street lifter, simply because having some soft tissue is super useful when squatting, for example, or when benching, for example.
sure.
Of course, these are big disadvantages when looking at the pulling side of things in calisthenics. The muscle up is a bit more of a technical move. It takes more time to learn, and it does require very specific training. You might not have been doing a lot of pull-ups. Like the transition, the hard thing for a power lifter to compete in street lifting will be the muscle up. So a lot of the focus will be on getting stronger in pull-ups, number one. Maybe cutting some body fat. Number two, of course, depending on your weight category and how much you have there. And of course, not losing too much performance on the squat, because even though we have 4 lifts in street lifting, the dip and the squat, both, you will be moving more weight than in the pull up and the muscle up. And you can move bigger numbers. So going to an extreme there isn't a smart idea either, and losing your strength in the squat, which you probably have as a power lifter, to get a higher total. That said, once you start working on your pull-ups, they get stronger, and very technically on the muscle up, at the end of the day, you don't need to move big weights on the muscle up because you can just squat more, and that is worth more at the end of the day. The time you need to train for a 20 kg muscle up is so much longer compared to just putting 20 kgs on a squat, to be honest. Don't waste too much time, but learn to do it nice and clean. And regarding frequency and percentages for calisthenics, numbers you can like try to aim for is doing pull twice a week to 3 times a week. You can actually do pull 3 times a week, and maybe one session really focus a lot of the technical element of the muscle up, or even later on, like do it still 3 times a week, but training the muscle up and the pull up on the 2 main pull days as well. So you have 3 sessions where you actually train the muscle up to really get a lot of repetition in, dipping not more than twice a week, besides in extreme cases, but especially if you're benching, still more than twice a week is suicide. Keep it nice and easy, and keep it one time. Very easy and technical. I know it feels weird, but do it. Squatting, I would squat twice a week. Maybe if you're used to it and you can handle it, you can still squat 3 times a week. But squatting 3 times a week, depending on how heavy the sessions are, might be a very will interfere a lot with your explosive work and muscle up work, and get you maybe a tiny bit too tired for that. So make sure to handle that well. Twice a week is usually more than enough. You won't have to deadlift, it's advisable to still work on your hamstrings, but maybe you can choose some exercises that are a tiny bit less taxing, do RDLs in a bit higher rep ranges, use straps to not get your forearms tired, make sure to use straps wherever you can besides in the movements where you really use them. I know there's a big taboo sometimes about using straps. If you're doing calisthenics, it makes sense because you'll need the strength. And yeah, that's that. That's that. I think like you can the squat, you can program one-on-one the same. The pull-up work, you go twice a week. The dips, I wouldn't take the bench as a reference, but I would program it by itself.
Okay, thank you. This is poor explanation, by the way. And continued question is streetlifting aspects. Streetlifting is new compared to powerlifting, and probably streetlifting athlete has more tend to be raw programming approach compared to powerlifters, in my opinion. Can streetlifting athletes, apart from adherence, can you evaluate within coaching eye? Maybe you can say what can they learn from powerlifter apart from adherence? Can you evaluate this with a coaching eye? Maybe you can say streetlifting has more talented athletes, but not approaching training program smartly. And also, I know this depends on the person, not the sports, but like maybe you notice something to look for in general.
Okay, so I can talk about general trends. So especially in Italy and in France, Germany as well, the three places where street lifting is for sure very, very big and where you see
Pulling
the
monster
biggest numbers.
France, pushing monster
Yeah,
German, skills
yeah.
monster Italy. I know like this stuff.
Italian, I mean, currently, I think final rep wise, the most records are held by Italians, more than French, I think. So they really are dominating the sport. And what I know from Italy, programming wise, is they do use a lot of powerlifting programming. So a lot of powerlifting coaches actually both in France and both in Italy are coaching street lifters. So for sure, you can learn a lot, especially regarding the squat, because if you want it or not, the squat is gonna make you win a competition
Yeah,
still.
huge difference.
Less because the level is like slowly plateauing or you see similar numbers, but in the beginning or a few years ago, the squat was gonna make or break a competition. You squatted more, no matter what you did in upper body lifts, you had the competition. Now it's getting less. It's over time, I feel like standardizing a bit. I mean, honestly, it's so the beautiful thing about powerlifting is it's extremely simple. You just train three movements
Yeah.
and it's easy to give fixed percentages, to work with very precise numbers, to work because you don't have a lot of things interfering with it. So you just have three movements at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
programming three movements, that it's not very difficult.
Yeah.
In street lifting, you have four movements. One movement is a tiny bit more technical, so you have the muscle up. But honestly, if you have some experience with it, it is pretty straightforward programming wise as well. So yeah, I think what you can learn from powerlifting and you can apply to street lifting is for sure the simplicity of programming and general programming rules. I mean, programming is
Principles, yeah.
programming, so there's no magic there, and just then finding the volumes that work with people. In Italy, for example, some powerlifting schools have the tendency to exaggerate volumes, like to really give you tons of sets of something, which is very effective at the end of the day because you repeat a movement a lot. You see muscle ups done with like 8 sets of muscle ups for 6 reps or so. So a lot of repetition. But of course, first of all, it takes a while to get used and being able to tolerate that volume, especially on more little structures like the forearms. And at the same time, at least what you're starting to see is incredible numbers, yes, and incredible progress, yes, but it feels in part short-lived and people breaking often. So as always, if you push too much, you either break it or make it, so to say. And for the general population, it's not the standard way I would go. If you see that an athlete can handle more, pushing more, doing more volume, more quality volume, and learning to express the volume better is for sure the way to go to create a better athlete. But it feels a bit, there is the tendency to copy paste certain things and just see if it works. And if you manage, great. If you don't manage, oh shit, now he's injured. And the last thing an athlete wants is being injured.
Yeah, for sure.
So for
Make
sure.
Streetlifting came to very big in these years. And when I started weighted calisthenics, I hit my 100 kg almost 2.5 years ago. I felt like I'm special. But right now it's some average. 110 is average right now in the world.
Same. I think 7 or 8 years ago, I could have considered myself one of the stronger puller in Europe,
Yeah.
like pull up wise. I was moving numbers that were super rare. And now I am
But still one of
below
the stronger
average.
puller, especially in the one arm pull up. Yeah.
Yeah, but less than I used to now that I have mass on the legs and I change my priorities. But still nothing compared to what you see now, for sure. So my prime there has passed.
No, in my opinion, no. Because you are training, you are chasing a lot of goal right now. We will talk about later. We talk a lot of muscle up, and I know, in my opinion, muscle up is the most popular calisthenics move in the world, especially for high school boys and maybe some girls found impressive. I don't know. But
Yeah, they do.
and also, people who didn't interest in any type of training can really find impressive to muscle up itself. First question, can you do muscle up? Can you do this in the person from not interesting training, generally, in my world? In your opinion, is muscle up one by self, not mentioned weighted pull-up for training for muscle up, not mentioning this, I am mentioning this directly, muscle up work, can be good for hypertrophy and general pulling strength. Also, how is muscle up risk-reward ratio? Is it worth it to chase? And continued question, sorry coach, don't forget.
No, easy.
Can we say 50% pull up or chin up is enough to start training specifically for muscle up, or is it better to early specific high pull up integration? And what can be the approaches options?
Okay, lots of question in one question. Let's see where
You
to
can
start.
ask for anything you want.
So, okay, let's start with working on the muscle up specifically. When I started training calisthenics, I approached the muscle up as its very own skill that I needed to train for a lot. But I didn't have access to a bar where I could do muscle ups. So I couldn't do it. So I was mostly just doing pull ups. And a few times, like when I was back in my hometown, I would cycle to a park where there was a bar where I could try them. And I just tried a few times in the course of a few weeks, but I was already very strong in pull ups at that point, not weight wise, because I didn't use weights, but I could do like probably 20 to 30 pull ups. And I just managed to do it like somehow. Honestly, now I wouldn't advise anyone to train for the muscle up as its own skill with a lot of focus. I would rather, as you mentioned before, do a lot of pull-up work and some technical work. And the technical work, keep it really in a way where you do focus rather on staying safe than trying to get over the bar, making this a very achievable skill if you don't stress it, if you don't rush it, and if you just take your sweet time with it. It's a skill that you will get as a side present if you're doing the work correctly, rather than trying to just do everything. As in, is it a great exercise for hypertrophy? I mean, honestly, like especially when you're learning it, it's a maximal effort movement. So you're recruiting a lot of muscle fibers when trying a muscle up. So you're going full out, you're going explosive. It's like plyometrics for legs. And it's actually, especially if you're not touching weights, not doing weighted pull-ups, an extremely good way to get a super good different stimulus to your muscles to grow, especially if you're not working with weights, not working with rates in certain rep ranges where you are needed to recruit more muscle fibers and create this explosivity. It actually is a great way to do that, but only if the technique is super solid. Because honestly, you could do explosive chest to bar pull-ups and just focus on explosivity and have the same result at the end of the day. Plus, you could actually put your thorax in a position to maybe recruit some lat fibers more and have it as a variation. And the muscle up has the element of going over the bar, which can lead to you to try to get over the bar when you're maybe already tired and have a higher risk of injury, where doing maybe pull-ups for muscle ups or doing chest to bar pull-ups is a smarter choice. And if you're able to really do sets where you have multiple muscle ups and you get them close to failure, at that point I would say it's smarter and more efficient to simply hang up some weights on your weight belt. But if you look at a lot of endurance athletes, if you look at something like Yavi Street Workout, who for years I think didn't touch weights, or just big names in the endurance
Max True,
world,
maybe.
they're enormous. They're
Yeah.
huge. They're brutal.
And very lean.
And super lean because they need to be. Yes, for sure, it's a great way to do so. But all the names I named, they are people with incredible genetics. They're people that had no problems learning, and they're extremely efficient in these movements. For us normal average humans, there's better ways. And coming back to your second part of the question, 50% of
50%.
body weight enough to work on the
Specifically
muscle
train.
ups. I hate giving percentages because I found there to be enormous variation in people, what they can lift and how efficient they are at being explosive and how
Arm
technical
length, something, thoracic
they
mobility,
are.
something like that.
Just mostly for muscle up, honestly, mostly muscle fiber type distribution. I always was extremely explosive, so I could just pull myself super high, easy cheesy lemon squeezy. You throw yourself over the bar, you got the muscle ups. But if you are more on the slow twitch side, and you can slightly shift the balance by training in a certain way, but in part that's really based on your genetics. You will have to work way more technically and have a way higher 1RM. You will need to be working on a way higher 1RM to be able to create enough speed and explosivity to get over the bar and spend way more time, and maybe need to reach higher numbers in your 1RM to get over the bar. At the same time, probably the explosive dude will manage to move more weight in his 1RM compared to the other one from the get-go, simply because he can recruit more muscle fibers and create more force and have a bigger force output from the get-go. 50%, I think, is a decent number to look at, but rather than that, the simplest thing is simply to test some pull-ups or muscle ups, to see how they look, to see how they move, and see if it makes sense to integrate them, or just work on some explosive chest to bar pull-ups for now and keep improving the weighted pull-ups.
Yeah.
So people love numbers, people want to hear numbers, and you can give a general range, but it might work for you or it might not. The way to really know is simply do some tests and being honest with yourself, or having someone that has a good eye for it, has experience, and can tell you, okay, yes, you can start working with this. It makes sense to put it in your plan. It makes sense to work on it, or just hold off, keep working on this, and then we'll look.
Yeah, very important to be honest with yourself in the training and also in life. Yeah. Thanks
Biggest
for
enemy is the ego.
explanation. Yeah, for sure. You can't lie yourself.
Exactly.
Which athletes, the coach? I am gonna with the other question. Sorry, I am really hurry. Which athlete?
Take it easy in case we
Yeah,
can do
for
a
sure.
second episode at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I just want to go to some not technical question, but some subjective questions. Which athlete can deserve to call themselves hybrid, in your opinion? Because a lot of people doing one sport like bodybuilding for a while, and after a while adding some running cardio in their training routine and call themselves as a hybrid. In your opinion, is it enough to say, is it hybrid, or if it's not, which people deserve to call themselves hybrid athletes? In my opinion, not, for example. No, for example. What is your opinion?
Ooh,
We have to master all of the training areas filed, or we have to decent level training filed, something like that.
yeah. So people, I think that the biggest problem with all this is that people love the word hybrid.
Yeah,
They make the people love associating themselves with a group, with a name, with a sport, whatever it is, and hybrid just attracts people. It's a cool world. It's flashy. It sounds like you can do a lot of shit.
felt like
And
special.
yeah, even before hybrid training in the classical sense as it's seen now, which I will define later, was big. Even in calisthenics, I remember that people that were doing skills like only statics, they were the only statics guys, and the people that were doing statics and freestyle, they were calling themselves hybrid athletes. Then people that were training statics and weighted and some legs were hybrid, and like it's a definition that gets thrown away around just easily. The true inventor of, so to say, hybrid training was a guy called Alex Viada. If you don't know him, look
I
him
don't know him.
up.
Alexa
He's
Viada.
con Yeah, Alex Viada. He wrote a book over 10 years ago, I
I
think.
know
It's
this book.
called,
You mentioned your IG story, your book
yeah,
recommendation story.
exactly.
Yeah, I remember, but I didn't read. Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually a light read. Like it's more back when he wrote it, he just put down all the articles that he was posting on the web a bit together in a more structured form, and he called the book The Hybrid Athlete. And it was about being someone who lifts and does like lifting and actually competing in triathlon as well. I feel like someone calling themselves an athlete to start with, honestly, to call yourself an athlete in theory, you should be competing
Yeah,
because
for sure.
otherwise you're just doing sport maybe at an extremely elite hobby level, but until you're not competing, you're actually not really an athlete at the end of the day, definition wise. And the definition of the hybrid athlete, at least because it came out, I think, out of this book and really started this movement, is someone who lifts, and their lifting was often seen as powerlifting. Someone who maybe deadlifts 300 kgs and then goes
10
out
second
and does,
planche, something like that.
yeah, the planche, the skills things, of course, are
Demanding.
awesome, but yeah, that wasn't cool back then. Maybe it isn't even cool now. And then can run a fucking Ironman. And honestly, for me, the definition of an a true hybrid athlete is someone who does both, excelling at all of that, and that is the meme that goes around about hybrid training, is that you can't excel in everything. Like to excel in something, you need to be extremely specialized. If you are a hybrid athlete, the goal of hybrid training is doing the minimal possible in every single sport to still get the best results. But the moment you specialize more in one direction or another, you will suffer on one side or another side. If you start swimming a ton, if your main goal is powerlifting, you will get more mobile and you will have a harder time producing strength, and you will get yourself more tired for the powerlifting training. And at the end of the day, it's impressive. Like what the beautiful thing about hybrid training is, I feel like it shows how much a human body can actually endure and how much we can recover from. But our possibility to recover is still and
Limited.
always limited somewhere. Like we're not superhumans, even if you're juiced up. Like there's people out there doing the craziest shit ever, like running 2 Ironmans back to back and lifting incredible weights, like setting a national record in deadlift or in the squat and then running 2 Ironmans. Crazy people. I don't know what demons they're running from to do something like that. And I find it extremely impressive. And for me, that is a hybrid athlete.
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing else. Because that's the definition came, I feel like, in part from this book, and is the reason why it's used now. Of course, everyone likes to call themselves a hybrid athlete, so you do a bit of gym, you do a bit of cycling, like I do.
Yeah.
I wouldn't define myself as a hybrid athlete.
No,
Just
in my opinion, you are not this type of people doing something gym and also doing cycling. These people just once a week cycling and doing 2 times a week gym training and call themselves hybrid. You are totally different, this type of people.
Yeah, but I'm so average in the cycling part.
Yeah, because you're new
that-
things for you.
Yeah, exactly. If I would start competing, if I would start doing triathlons and would lift the way I currently lift,
Maintenance your level in your training and you can
exactly,
call themselves.
then I could go out of the way and start saying I'm a hybrid athlete. But honestly, I am more the type of person that makes fun of these definitions than anything else. I just do the fuck I enjoy. And that's the way I am. That's the way, like, I like that, great, I'll do it.
Yes.
I don't like that, then I don't do it. I don't go running because I really don't enjoy it, and it doesn't feel great for me. But swimming, I could think about it. I would like to do it. I really don't know where to put it time wise. And I love biking. So yeah, I'm not a hybrid athlete. I wouldn't call myself a hybrid athlete. If I would compete in triathlons and if I would compete in street lifting, and I would do both, I could name myself that, a special breed, the calisthenics breed of hybrid athlete. But in general, it's a buzzword that people love and it's great to sell. So that's my opinion on it. Shit lifter and average runner is not a hybrid athlete. He's just a functioning human being. Like, he's
Whatever you
healthy,
like.
it's great and nice.
No need to
Yeah.
pro anyone. No
Yeah.
need to pro. And sometimes people, and especially like me, can be very greedy about chasing a lot of goals and being jacket, all of this, but master of no one, something like that. For
Yeah.
decent
It's
lifts,
what
decent
I like to
skills.
call myself. Jack of
Jack-
all trades, master of none.
Yeah. Amazing explanation for
My life.
master of pulling strength, coach.
Yeah, maybe jack of all trades, master of maybe one. So yeah.
Okay, thanks for explanation again. And so I am coming to some complicated questions this time. What is the healthy and sustainable way to train for heavy, strong bodybuilding athletes to train planche and front lever? Something like over 80 kg we can call.
Mhm.
These movements has a lot of requirements like relative strength and specific strength. Athletes who have raw strength like advanced bodybuilder can punish from this movement if they do wrong techniques and applying with wrong program. What is the best way these type of athletes start and progress these movements? In your opinion?
I feel like it's the sport is slowly infiltrating a lot of other sports. And if you look on YouTube now, you see RP Strength doing videos with Chris Area.
Yeah.
And you see how is it called, the bodybuilder Lenny, huge dude.
Lenny.
I don't remember. It's skipping.
I can find for you.
I don't remember. It doesn't matter.
Need some keyword.
Yeah. Larry Wheels.
Larry Wheels is something like Hibrit.
Yeah.
Clearly
You
Hibrit
see him
in every area.
He's starting to do some calisthenic stuff
90
as well.
degree bent arm planche.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, I feel like the analogy of the muscle up I brought before is 101 perfect here. You have a lot of raw strength, you have a lot of muscle mass, you have a lot of muscle mass where you maybe don't need it for the skills, and that could lead to problems in the skills, or like you having a harder time rather than anything like having huge legs, or just, for example, even back-wise as a bodybuilder, you will have some muscles that are so overdeveloped that or just a big chest, for example, for the planche is rather, I wouldn't call it really a disadvantage, but it doesn't really give you an advantage. It still is more mass on the right side of the lever to make it easier just weight-wise. But muscle-wise, you just use the chest to stabilize in the planche, nothing else. And most people don't even know how to use it to stabilize. So that for a bodybuilder is that the risk is trying certain things like maybe the one arm pull up or the planche too early, because without any technical approach that gets your tendon ready for the extreme positions you're gonna be in. And that is a huge one, because if you're a beginner, if you haven't done much training, you don't have a lot of muscle mass, if you try a planche, you're just gonna fall on your face. That's it. You're not gonna hurt yourself. You just don't have the strength to hold it. But if you have massively strong and big shoulders, a massively big and strong, already shortened biceps, and you lean yourself into a planche, you might be able to hold it. And then you try to extend your arm in that extreme position, and your tendon is not used to that position, and fuck, it's gone.
If you are juiced, it's more possibility.
Yeah, if you're juiced, the risk is even higher because your muscles are even more evolved and short, and the tendons just don't have time to recover, to get to that point. They're not ready for the stress that you put yourself in this extreme position where you're in a lengthened position with your whole body weight on this little muscle. So start easy. Like, even if you theoretically could do way more than you think, take your time to really condition, because these skills take time. They take a lot of time. They take a lot of patience. And even if you could go there faster, it's not great to get there faster. And that's something people need to really impress in their mind. It's not about the goal. It's about the journey to get there, because if it's just about the goal, first of all, you're going to reach it, and then you're going to look for the next one.
Yeah.
And secondly, you will be disappointed. You will risk to hurt, not disappointed. You will risk hurting yourself if you try to get to the goal way too fast. Instead, learn to actually use the right muscles for the job, because you have never used the muscles in those specific angles. You have never really tried to connect with those muscles the way that you will be doing in calisthenics. You might need to work on some muscles to stabilize the shoulder blades in certain positions, straight arm strength, if you want to call it like this. So strength where you need to stabilize a lot over your shoulder girdle and have all the lever on your front delt and your biceps, like the planche. They don't really exist in the bodybuilding world, and you will never have trained them. So even if your front delt is fucking strong, you need to teach it to work the right way, and you need to do it slowly, even if you could go faster, just to be sure and secure. So some technical work in the beginning of your session, that is easy, where you slowly condition yourself. Make sure maybe that you reach higher seconds than most other people before going to the next skill.
Decreasing
just to be sure
progression,
to.
decreasing
Yeah,
progression
exactly.
intensity and long hold, right?
Exactly. In the beginning, at least, and not trying to rush it and go jump into progressions where you can only hold 2 seconds, compared to someone that maybe doesn't have that muscle mass. Like, go slower, which sounds counterintuitive, but you need to make sure that you're as strong as your weakest link, and
Yeah,
your
for sure.
weakest link there will be the tendons.
And big
So yeah,
muscle, big responsibility for calisthenics skills.
exactly.
And thank you for answering. And I'm gonna go with my favorite questions. In the
Let's
training
go.
world, periodization has a big role. Especially more complicated sport, this can be more important, like mixed martial arts, football, wrestling, etc. I know Sthenics'e coaching applying athlete periodization with long-term planning. Question A. So, in your opinion, how much important periodization in calisthenics? Question B. can you evaluate on the importance of the periodization tool separately in terms of weighted calisthenics and static calisthenics? Question C, sorry for the long questions. And also, how much important periodization principles at other strength sports compared to calisthenics, like powerlifting,
Mm-hmm.
bodybuilding?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's start with number one. How important is periodization in general?
In calisthenics.
Yeah, in calisthenics, I'll do it for both. So
Okay,
I'll start with
okay.
general and then I'll switch to some points that make it maybe nicer in calisthenics than in other ways.
Okay, sir.
I spoiled myself already. I think Greg Knuckles had quite a few years ago. He used to have an awesome podcast with
Eric Trexler.
Eric Trexler, exactly. Stronger by Science, and they have a website where he did
Mass.
study reviews, and he put out a beautiful study review about how, like, really answering this question. I don't honestly remember the exact percentage on how much it really helped some athletes compared to others, but it was mostly for, I think, bodybuilding, like almost a neglectable change actually. For
Yeah.
power lifters, around something like 20% or so. One thing you always need to take into consideration, it's a Gaussian curve, meaning that like you will have people that gain a lot from it, you will have people that gain very little from it, and most people will gain quite some of it.
Okay. Some
One
IQ
thing,
scale, something like.
yeah, exactly. Like Gaussian code looks like whoops, like this. Yeah. So you have like the most people in the center, but you have some people off on one side or
Spectrum.
the other. Exactly. And this is just purely periodizing. Of course, even if you're not periodizing, most people will apply progressive overload to their training. If you're a bodybuilder, you will try to move more weight, even if you don't know exactly what you're doing. As a power lifter, you will try to move more weight, even if you don't know what you're exactly doing. Putting structure behind it gives you, first of all, more longevity in the sport because you're gonna do less stupid things. That is a big point. So I feel like that injury prevention wise, it can, if done smartly, do a lot. And getting injured less will mean you will progress more over time. And that's a big one. Secondly, it will. So one thing that periodizate like that will never be answered here, and here is where calisthenics really shines, is technique. I mean, powerlifting technique makes a huge difference, but let's say, especially when looking at skills, I would say street lifting as well, but especially when looking at skills, the technical element makes such a difference. Like the biggest, learning to activate the right muscles for the job, learning to perform the things with exactly like by activating the lat correctly in a front lever compared to like using only the rhomboids, it makes a world of difference. And their periodization in combination with technique makes an enormous difference. So periodization per se, like planning your training is great, is smart, and you can get a lot out of it, especially if you do a well done peaking, if you learn to deload the right way, if you slowly but surely make sure to progress over time, and it gives you good results. But what makes it incredibly effective is working on technique itself. So this regarding how important is periodization, and for everyone it's a bit different because for me, like I started getting coached, I think after 3 or 4 years of just training on my own. I tried to write my own plans. I tried to follow my own plans, but I had no objective
Eye on your training.
coach or I looking at it, and I hurt myself, I plateaued, and that's when I decided to get Leo, the co-founder of Sthenics, as a coach. And in 3 months I made the progress of 4 years. In 3 months my training changed completely, and that wasn't because the plan was so sophisticated or so great. Looking back at the plans that Leo wrote for me back then and I wrote for my first clients, it's way too much volume for most people. I was lucky to be able to to hold it.
Mhm.
But the big change was simply having someone who gave me technique, having more structure, and making sure that I was doing enough of the right thing. And
Yeah.
even a suboptimal plan will have that. And that's why
Okay.
I
Very good point.
exploded in that time. So, of course, for some people, it will make a huge difference. For some people, it will make less of a difference. But if you learn the
Generous.
right technique, if you learn the right activations, if you're serious about sport, it's an investment for your future, for sure. And you learn to give ratings to yourself, to gauge yourself in training well. And these are skills that are essential to being great at strength training. And a lot of people will tell you, hey, I don't periodize anything, I improve perfectly. Often there are people, though, that can understand their body well, that know when they need to take a rest day. They understand and have a feeling, okay, I've been doing a bit too much, I'll take a day extra off. And that they can push themselves, but they don't break themselves, or they have great genetics regarding injury prevention, which
Unintentionally
I don't.
periodization, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Unintentionally
exactly. Because
periodization.
at the end of the day, if you want to progress and you have just a slight structure that makes sense, where you don't hit the same muscle group all the time,
Mhm. Mhm.
back to back to back, where you're constantly tired and you don't understand that that's the problem, you will still make progress at the end of the day. It's not that just because I'm a coach and I periodize training for my athletes that they wouldn't get better if they would be training on their own. But I've
Mhm.
seen extremely talented athletes, like extremely talented athletes, come to me and they were doing great progress before, but they fucking exploded afterwards, which is
Mhm.
beautiful to see as well. You know, it's not just for the people that have a hard time, that have been plateauing, and it's the only way to
Mhm.
go
Mhm.
and really make progress. Because for some people, it will be. It will. You see it with people that actually have talent, how much you can get out if you do the things just with a bit more head and a bit more technique.
Yeah.
I talked too much. I forgot about BNC.
No, BNC, you answered already BNC, but just
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
compared to other strength sport is very huge different bodybuilding and powerlifting. You answered already, and statics has more important
Yeah.
to
I feel like
invest to
statics.
periodization
Exactly.
compared to
So
weighted.
statics, weighted is easier compared to statics. And statics, if you're gifted, you don't really need to care, to be
Mhm.
honest, because you're going to improve somehow. You'll
Mhm.
see progress. But if you're not gifted and you're working on something like the planche, progress is so slow that you really need objective markers to be able to see and measure progress over time.
Yeah.
So,
Especially for technique improvements and preventing injuries,
exactly.
so important. And in my opinion, especially overuse injuries can be very prevent from with periodization.
Yeah. Yeah. If you rush stuff, like, it's usually not a great idea.
Not at like not like only skills training. Maybe some people doing a lot of pull-ups work in the whole year can fucked up elbow. But if you start
Yeah,
with
exactly.
neutral grip pull-up and after then chin up and after then pull-up, maybe more strength transfer and health way can be for
Yeah,
him.
exactly. At the end of the day, everything we want is improve and always being able to train, because not training is the saddest thing. Even
Yes.
if you just progress very slowly, it's better than not being able to train or being in pain. So never forget about
Yeah.
that. Lots of people forget it until they're injured and they're
Yeah.
like, shit, this sucks.
Staying in the game, best thing for the athlete and long term.
Exactly, exactly. Okay, should we go for one last one?
Yeah, but I just want quick question. Is Leo is your first and last coach, right? Is Leo?
No, I've been coached by a powerlifting coach for my legs. His name is on Instagram Natty Matty, Matthias Wallner. He is one of the strongest, or he used to be one of the strongest powerlifters in Austria in national level for a while. And he got coached by Alex Pürzel, who was co-owner of Das Gym, and wrote a lot of books about powerlifting. And I coached him in upper body lifts. So he was a 100 kg powerlifter who learned the muscle up. Actually, that was
100
kind of fun.
kg muscle up. Okay. Like
Yeah, yeah,
Tonio.
yeah.
I remember Tonio.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. But Tonio was a Callias athlete
Yeah,
before,
for
so
sure.
Here it's like a bit of a different story. I think he was 110 or 19 actually when he learned the muscle up, which is awesome as a power lifter. And he coached me in the squat because personally I didn't have much experience in the squat, and I had athletes working on the squats where Leo, who has more experience, was usually working with them. I wanted to learn more myself, and that's the reason why I wanted to get coached by someone who's expert in the field, to go through it myself, to learn and be in constant communication with this person. Because one thing is learning on books and theory, but one thing is working with
Experience.
someone who knows their shit and just doing and seeing how he does it, what are the differences between how you program your work, and learning from that, as well as
Yeah.
seeing yourself progressing in it, maybe using and doing other things than you're used to, which is always great.
Yeah, training with high quality coach, amazing thing. Training with high
Yeah.
quality coach is game changer for most people.
So, and now for the last years, most of the last years, I've been actually coaching myself completely,
Mhm.
and I'm enjoying it. So it's super difficult in the beginning, but having coached people for now over 8 years and
Mhm.
having experimented a lot of myself, and I do travel a lot. That's a big priority for me as well.
Mhm.
And I do like doing other things as well in life. I have a lot of other hobbies.
Yeah,
I
I know.
need quite a flexible
Hiking,
programming.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Most of
exactly. So
training, you're training like auto-regulation thing in general.
yeah, I have phases.
You
So I
have
have phases
structure,
where
but
yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of auto-regulate.
But for example, the last 4 months where like I was training 7 out of 8 days, never skipped a day, everything perfectly periodized on the dot.
And you
And
came back
then
again. You came
yeah,
back, a good
exactly.
performance showing to us.
Yeah, yeah. So that then like, you grind through that, but and then I have phases where I'm traveling more, where I still train. I love training, but I know that at the level I am at right now, improving on certain things will be hard, but I can improve on other things. Like
Yeah.
I might switch my focus on doing more cardio-based stuff, which I never thought I would ever say, but hey, see me, here I am. And the way I got to do more of that stuff is by getting in an accident
Correct.
and being injured and not being able to do strength sport. You can do so many things. You can learn so many skills. You
Yeah.
can it's amazing, and just limiting yourself is sad. Of course, it's easy to say after you spend 12 years doing the same shit,
Yes,
but
training
now
world is
I've gotten
so broad for all people.
exactly. I mean, you do something else as well.
Yeah.
You do grappling, right?
Yeah, but I am newbie, something like around 6 months, and white belt
Okay.
still in Brazilian
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu. And
Yeah.
you know my training. I am chasing bodybuilding sometimes, powerlifting sometimes. Right now, calisthenics skills, because I have to decent level all of this area.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. To excel, it's hard, but it's I prefer being above average in a lot of things.
Yes, for sure.
Maybe excel in one thing instead of just putting my whole life in one thing, because when you lose that, it doesn't feel great.
Yes, for sure. And also coaching part is the hardest part to coaching by self in the a lot of coach, because people tend to be, and especially for me, I am tend to be the more emotionally to my training, put in too much
Yeah.
work, chasing too many
Yeah.
goals. Maybe I want this, I want this, and sometimes avoiding hard things, sometimes rushing the hard things. It's too hard to coach
Yeah.
myself.
It's very difficult. It took me a long time to find a good balance, and I did it by really auto-regulating a lot. And I mean, I know myself and my body well, and I need to take a step back, look at myself as if I would see myself as another athlete I'm coaching and not as myself. And that helps a lot to take objective decisions. And I sometimes do still ask, for example, Leo or so,
Yeah,
if he
Leo is
thinks
the
that that's a
definition
good
of the
idea.
aura and knowledge for me. Definition of the aura. He's something like Sigma male. He's not posting anything. He's not showing anything, but he is good at almost everything.
Yeah, yeah, he should put out more. He's actually a very, very impressive athlete.
Yeah,
because he's such an all-rounder. Not even I know what the fuck he's doing now, honestly.
Mystery
Like,
guy,
well,
right?
yeah, mystery guy.
He's doing five. I remember the first his video doing planche after then RDL or vice versa. I don't remember clearly. I shocked. I shocked.
Yeah, yeah. I think last year at some point he squatted 190 kgs at 71
One.
or 72
I am
kg body
I am
weight,
big stalker.
and then
Right?
10 seconds full planche.
Yeah.
I mean, it's things you start seeing now, but it's still very, very rare.
He seems like not training. He seems like doing art. Sometimes I'm feeling like this way because when I saw the Nick Walker, you know Nick Walker is bodybuilder. When I saw
Mhm.
him video, I really impressed because contraction, centric, relaxation is
Yeah, yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Same apply to do Cali for Cali and also bodybuilding to Leo for me.
A fucking robot. That's
Yeah.
how I call him.
Yeah, bro. This is my questions, coach. But right now I have some really quick questions. Funny. One, would you rather do this or not? You have to pick one.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's shoot a few. And
Yeah, for sure. 100 kg pull-ups, 200 kg dips.
I hate dips. You know the response.
Yeah, I know the response.
100 kg pull up all the way.
Okay, limitless cardio versus limitless body recovery from training.
Body recovery every day.
I shocked.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no. I mean, if you recover, you don't injure yourself. So if you can always recover from your training, you can infinitively get better and actually reach infinite cardio.
Yeah,
Plus,
with hard
for
work.
infinite cardio, it's just mindset. So
Yeah.
it's just head because
Okay.
and yeah, yeah.
And you mentioned the getting injured. I take the side notes. Maybe I can say this not getting injury, but you mentioned already. Limitless recovery from training or not getting injury, I would say. But you mentioned already to this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not getting injured. For
Maybe
sure.
amazing physique. You can imagine any physique you want. Or amazing 1RM strength at every moment.
1RM strength. I've
All day, every
never
day.
cared. Yeah, all day, every day. I don't know. I've never cared about my physique too much. And I think I do actually have a decent physique, quite balanced now as well.
Especially your side
Since it,
delt is very huge and good looking. This area.
thank you, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Legs are great too. Chest sucks, but I never cared about looks. I don't post really half naked pictures ever
Mirror
or
pic.
advise with it. I'm more about
Maybe deload to deload some mirror pic can be cool to see progress. Yeah. So checking the
yeah,
vibe.
now I'm cutting and I've actually haven't been this low in weight and lean in I think ever. I've never looked this fit and felt this fit.
What is your kg right now?
It's crazy. Today I stepped on the scale. I was 69.2.
Wow, you look huge, very huge compared to 69.
Yeah, but I always did. So when I was competing in skills, people thought I was over 70, 75, some people even 80 kgs, and I was 60, 61. So it was very light. Now I bulked up to 78. I think that was 2 years ago. And now this is the lowest I've been in a long, long time. I don't remember, maybe 4 years.
I remember your
4 or
days,
5 years.
78 days I remember because you are trying to put your mass on legs, on body, gaining bodybuilding phase, a lot, long-term plan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I remember.
I was a fat fuck
Good
there.
times, caloric surplus, awesome sometimes.
Yeah. Going
Other
on the mountain
question.
wasn't as fun.
520 kg deadlift versus limitless Maltese.
Or limitless Maltese.
It's easy for you. For me, it's not easy.
Yeah, yeah. I never cared about that lifting.
Yeah.
And Maltese is maybe the one skill that got away, where I had a straddle Maltese that was decent, never got the full, and I stopped training for it because of
Injury.
subscapularis injury. So yeah, Maltese all day.
50 kg deep handstand push-up versus 80 kg muscle up.
Sheesh. Damn.
Yes, I catch the question. You
Okay.
hesitated.
I don't particularly like muscle ups actually. I don't know why. I would take the handstand push-up, even though
Your
the
favorite
muscle
handstand
up.
push-up, I know. Your favorite movement, handstand push-up.
Yeah, it is. Even though I'm mostly I like doing pull stuff but 50 kg and deep handstand push-up, that wins. Even though 80 kg muscle up is completely out of this world and is more absurd than a 50 kg handstand push-up, because there's people doing 50 kg handstand push-ups now,
Not good
but
form.
there's not good form,
But in my
or
opinion,
just
it's reachable for you to 50 kg handstand push-up, but 80 kg muscle up, not.
nah,
You can
exactly,
pick the 80 kg
So
muscle up, you can chase the 50 kg handstand push-up with your own.
yeah, so I don't know. I feel like the 50 kg handstand push-up is more realistic, even though the other one would be like worlds.
Yeah,
Would be way more impressive. I would still prefer the handstand push-up just because I
okay,
enjoy the movement more.
okay.
Yeah,
Not need food for strength and hypertrophy or etc. recovery, something like that, or not need sleep.
I love food way too much to not eat. I love cooking. It's probably one of my favorite hobbies. I love to cook. I cook a lot. I cook every single meal, and I usually
I
like to
love
spend
to
my time
eat, but
cooking it.
not like to cook, especially. Just
Okay.
love to eat.
So, and I love to eat as well. So yeah, for sure, 100%
Sleep.
no sleep. Even
Yeah.
though I love sleeping as well, but I
And
couldn't
time
live
management
without
things
food.
is a good thing for choosing sleep.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I would go crazy.
Street training
What do you?
versus gym training.
Ha 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 ha. Before I would have told you street. Now I will tell you gym.
Yeah.
Just
We need
I
something.
like training outside a lot, but like it's great for a while. It's great when traveling. It's great as a tool, but
It's great for
gym.
training naked and picking up your Monster Energy drink and doing some flex muscle up. It's very cool in the street. But we need
Exactly.
gym
But
equipment.
not for periodized
Yeah.
training where you need to focus there. I do. The best thing, the best option would be a home gym. That's what I would love the most.
Yes. Solo
So,
and full equipment.
exactly. And exactly what I want.
For me too as well.
Yeah.
Training with music or training with silence of nature. Something, whatever place you want.
Ooh, hard. Actually, not hard. I need music to train. So for training, I like the headphones. For hiking, I like the sounds of nature.
Morning training, evening training.
Well,
You have to pick one.
evening.
Day by day
Yeah.
evening. Amazing flexibility versus solid one-arm handstand over 10 seconds. Every attempt, by the way, no falling. Every attempt 10 seconds.
But is my one arm handstand still perfectly beautiful?
Perfectly beautiful, not something like this.
Then
Just
then then I'll
straight
then
as
I'll
possible.
take the one. Then I'll take my one arm handstand actually.
Okay. Let's make some troll questions. Being super strong, but having to make awful noises when you every move and rep, or being super flexible, but having to cry out loud when you start stretching.
For sure, being super flexible and crying
Oh,
out loud because I would
crying out
never
loud.
do it. Yeah, and the other stuff I would do it all the time. So yeah.
Okay. Other one. Training only in pink and shiny sportswear, or screaming before every workout like I am the best, I am the champion in front of the people.
Pink all the way. I don't give a shit about that.
Yeah, okay.
I already have like some bright pink socks that I sometimes wear
I'm also
and
using,
a
but
shirt.
completely pink and shiny
Yeah,
like
I could be.
phosphor.
I don't know. I could do it. I think I wouldn't give it enough shits. Yeah. The other one is just I don't know. The other one is a thing that
So
people actually
ridiculous.
do. So
So ridiculous, other one.
yeah.
Accidentally shooting the war cry on every muscle up, or repulsive eye winking at every front lever entry.
What's the repulsive eye winking?
Something like not cool one for.
I'll take the front lever one here.
Okay, shooting is more. Being elite gymnast with 150 centimeter height versus 5 seconds planche hold with 200-meter height. 2-meter height. Probably easy.
200.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
think you have to.
120. You're really like a Coke bottle. That
Not
kind of sucks.
150.
50.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe
Elite
then
gymnast.
150. Sorry, I thought 125.
No,
Then
no.
maybe 150. Yeah. Being 2 meters is uncomfortable in life.
Okay, it's just
Prefer being little there.
last question. Solo training versus with body loved one or something like that.
I like actually to train alone.
For sure. Time to time,
So I like
sometimes
the
good
mix.
with body, but
Exactly, time
general,
to time, but in general, solo, I like it from time to time, but all the time, doesn't need to be trained alone in my room for almost 8 years, I think. Just used to getting my shit done on my own.
sometimes that's gym, sometimes in your room.
Yeah, but but it's nice, you talk, like I'm at the gym, I still talk to people between sets
Yeah, for
sometimes,
sure.
but not like all the time with one person.
You
And
came,
that does make
you
a
became
difference.
local fame on your area when you go training regularly.
Yeah. Plus behind us. People they don't know what I do, but they just know me because I'm the only one doing calisthenics in
Yeah.
our gym almost. So
For sure.
and the only one taping all the bars always.
So that's it.
Nice.
This is my questions. And thanks for
These were fun.
accepting me, my
Nah,
invitation.
of course, man.
And for the finish, how can people reach you? I will put down below your IG, Sthenics'e Coaching IG, website, etc. and everything. But can you mention any detail, something like these topics?
Yeah, okay. So you can find me personally on Instagram under Denis with one N _Kalis. Honestly, you'll see a bit of my training and mostly nature shots and drone stuff and cooking stuff on that page rather than training content. So a very colorful mix, but Sthenics'e _ is where you'll find information about training as well as on YouTube. Always Sthenics'e. You will find some YouTube videos about training, some case studies about our clients and stuff like that. We have a website, www.sthenics.net. And now we're actually working on an app for training tracking and train log, exactly. And you'll find that on Instagram or at www.trainlogapp.com, I think, on the web.
Turkish fellow, follow on the area Sthenics'e and Denis and Leo, please. Because if you don't know English, you have to learn to applying to coaching and calisthenics and strength sport knowledge from these guys. They make a lot of valuable thing for this area, this field. Follow these guys for the better information and making fun.
Thank you so much. And
welcome.
You're bringing out Turkish content now,
Yeah,
so
I will have to put
spread the good
Turkish
word.
Subtitles and this yeah.
Sweet.
And it's too hard to
Awesome.
put the subtitle for my bad English, my bad pronunciation, something like that. But thank God I am talking less compared to you. I am the question
Today's
guy, not the
podcast
answer guy.
would be endless. Perfect. Was a pleasure. Really enjoyed it.
For me as well,
Thank you
Coach.
for having
For
me.
me as well, Denis.
And maybe we'll see each other another time on this podcast.
Yeah, for sure. Inshallah. Thank you.
Inshallah. Have a good one.
Have a good day. Thank you again.